It is a delicate time. The known universe is ruled by the Padishah Emperor, but the governance of the human race falls to the great houses of the Landsraad. Within each house, a few privileged souls assume the power of entire worlds, granted the right to rule over souls uncounted, and in their endless movements and manipulations, the very nature of the Imperium is determined. Each house is a nation unto itself, laying claim to vast swaths of territory and resources, protected by their military might. Some houses are ruled by benevolent dictators, others ruthless tyrants. Still more are mere figureheads within a complex system of lesser houses and feudal lords, whilst others are so strange as to be almost entirely alien. But of the many famous names that have resounded throughout the Landsraad for centuries, it was through the ascension of House Atreides alone that the entire human universe would be overturned. The history of House Atreides stretches back into the distant ages of mankind's antiquity. Atreides' own legends claim descendants from the mythical figure Atreus of the ancient Hellenic cultures of Lost Earth. A wise king, cursed to forever struggle against war, betrayal, and tragedy, Atreus was seen by his supposed descendants as an apt figurehead for the challenges faced by this noble house. According to some more modern accounts, the house's founder was Demetrios Atreides, granted a noble title and planetary estate for his actions in battle at the side of the first Padishah Emperor. Through the long years of the Imperium, House Atreides ruled with wisdom and humanity in the face of persistent challenges and calamities. It emerged from the dark days that followed the Butlerian Jihad and the fall of the god of machine logic, earning a position of prominence within the parliament of the Imperium's Landsraad. Its status waxed and waned through wars and revolutions, even briefly competing with the imperial family itself for riches and power. The arrival of House Atreides on the world of Caledon marked a turning point and the end of their imperial ambitions. Its members achieve renown as noteworthy scholars, statesmen, and capable soldiers. The actions of Duke Leto I, who rallied his forces to the aid of House Harkonnen and Kastar during a mass revolt, brought to House Atreides a reputation of fairness and wisdom. They were recognized by the Emperor as the embodiment of thoughtful, enlightened governance over their fief world. The members of House Atreides were held up as a shining example of what any great house should strive for, and, by some, as what even the Imperial House should be. Like most of the great houses, Atreides was governed under the principles of a hereditary monarchy, with its head attaining the title of Duke and absolute control over the house's affairs. They were celebrated for their perfected form of governance that resulted in a well-organized society and a spiritually satisfied people. Great care in particular was taken to encourage sustainability and balance over short-term gains. Their former homeworld and capital of Caledon was perhaps the best example of this ethos. A prosperous world of great mountains, fertile lakes, and shining orchards. The people of Caledon lived in a state of enterprising plenty that was envied by many across the Imperium. Despite its prosperity, House Atreides endeavored to preserve the ecology of their world, ensuring that the progress of its society never came at the expense of the planet itself. As such, Caledon was believed by many to be one of the most beautiful and desirable worlds in the known universe. Yet this beauty belied the martial spirit at the center of House Atreides. The armed forces that could be mobilized by the will of the Duke were some of the most advanced in the universe. These included legions of ground troops, flights of ornithopter craft, and fleets of starships. In the modern era, it was estimated that their skill in warfare rivaled even the Imperial Sardaukar. Their proficiency was in part due to the reforms and training regimens advocated by War Master Gurney Halleck, a former slave of the House Harkonnen. Under his tutelage, Atreides' forces became masters of every form of modern combat, and were even developing their own advanced battle language. This incredible strength at arms was matched by the house's dedication to knowledge and learning. Atreides made a tradition of employing mentats, individuals specially trained to replace thinking machines. Within the house, they were used to assist the rule of the dukes directly, and to raise their heirs to meet these high standards of physical, mental, and spiritual excellence. As a prominent house within the Landsraad, Atreides was increasingly defined by its rivalry with House Harkonnen. A rising power within the Imperium, Harkonnen's slave fleets had attempted to raid several smaller houses aligned to House Atreides. In the largest such incident, unmarked Harkonnen slave fleets suffered a terrible and embarrassing defeat, and only the Byzantine rule of the Landsraad and the word of the Emperor prevented the eruption of further conflict. The ascendancy of House Atreides was most clearly marked in the decision of the current Emperor, Shaddam Corrino IV, to turn the governance of Arrakis from House Harkonnen over to their rule. Together with his Bene Gesserit concubine, Lady Jessica, and their young heir, Paul, Duke Leto and the entire Atreides household uprooted from their home of Caledon to settle their new Fife world. Here they would face the myriad challenges that come with governing Arrakis, wrestling with the legacy of the Harkonnens' brutal rule over the populace, as well as the natural hazards of this hostile world. During the first year of their stewardship over Arrakis, House Atreides reversed many of House Harkonnen's most brutal and self-defeating policies. They generously distributed resources, brought new standards of safety to the dangerous work of spice harvesting, and most importantly, shared water freely. Spice exports rose, seemingly affirming the decision of the Emperor to trust House Atreides with the most important world in the universe. Yet Emperor Corrino IV had ulterior motives in this decision. Fearing that the rising power of House Atreides might have dethroned him, he conspired with House Harkonnen to destroy them in a single stroke. The world of Arrakis was a single great trap, meant to ensnare the Duke of Atreides and his family, where they could be crushed between the forces of the Harkonnen and the Imperial Sardaukar. The battle for Dune ended with the famed armies of House Atreides shattered and their Duke killed by Harkonnen hands. The last survivors of House Atreides, Lady Jessica and her son Paul, were forced to flee into the deserts of Arrakis to escape their pursuers. Here, they almost certainly perished, either of thirst, heatstroke, or the predations of the immense sandworms. It is said greatness is a transitory experience, never consistent, neither within individuals or even the houses of the Landsraad. With the success of the Harkonnens' coup, the greatness of House Atreides has at last reached its end. Yet, across the free and sparkling deserts of Dune, it is rumored a new figure has emerged amongst the native Fremen. A man known as Muad'Dib, and should the members of the Bene Gesserit ever dare to gaze into that place they dare not look, they shall see him looking back at them.
The Templin Institute investigates the nations, factions, and organizations of alternate worlds. Join other Templin Institute personnel on our Discord server, where discussions are held daily on the elements of world building, spaceship design, the best method of cooking rice, and other critical issues affecting alternate worlds. You'll find a link in the description.